in the top lane, whereas Trashy is a bit more towards that tank setup, and he's done very well with it.
Yes, indeed. But Trashy definitely has shown that he's been able to do it on a couple of different styles of champions. That Trundle has come out a couple times when he's been up against a tank. But Wunder's really been the experimental factor here, bringing out things like the Fizz in recent weeks, and that is going to be banned away here for this game.
Yeah, Fizz is going to be gone, and that is one of these key picks that we were looking at from the Splyce side of things. There goes the Shen, again, more priority on top lane. I wouldn't be surprised if a Renekton, either early or a ban comes out, or it's either an early pick or a ban comes out from Unicorns of Love here. As we said, it's a high contested pick between the two.
Yep, still got some time on the board. To the side, 9 seconds still ticking on the clock. Unicorns are going to go ahead and ban out the Lulu. That has been a champion that may not be up top, but it has been having a lot of impact in Europe.
Yeah, it has had a lot of impact. And when we look now towards first pick, if Lulu's off the table, Malzahar shoots up in priority right now because one of these support matchups that is very strong still. Patch after patch, we see a high priority on this Malzahar, and for Mikyx, this will be the 4th game he's pulling this one out.
Yeah. See what they answer on the side of Unicorns. There were a lot of support bans, 2 by Splyce and 1 by the Unicorns, but will they answer in this rotation?
We could see, I was going to say Renekton, and then either the Graves that we've seen come out a lot, but of course Exileh's been picking the LeBlanc. And he's first picking it. LeBlanc is a champion that we thought would be heavily nerfed, but Exileh's been making it work very well for himself in the first couple of weeks since those changes. Has been running a different build at times, going towards that Lich Bane sometimes. We're actually going to keep track of that in the game. Yeah,
it's definitely still worked out for him so far, and something that's worked out well for the Unicorns has also been this Caitlyn pick as it gets locked in by Samux. That'll be his 9th. He's not lost on it this split.
Yeah, he's looked very good on the Caitlyn. You look at the Unicorns of Love draft priority here. This is so far removed from what a lot of other teams are doing, but this is all about getting picks that the Unicorns like. The LeBlanc, the Caitlyn, that work very well for themselves. And the one thing that I like about this is the LeBlanc should round out the mid-game style for the Unicorns of Love with his Caitlyn kind of being on a power deck.
Yeah, but on the other side for Splyce, they lock themselves a jungler, but then the Talon comes out. This is something we really only seen that much out of Giants mid laner Knight, but Sencux is picking it up.
Yeah, we've started seeing Talon come and rise in priority over the last few weeks. Of course, LeBlanc loves to roam out of lane, as does Talon. Talon arguably better now that we've added the parkour. Obviously, both heavy snowball lanes. I'm looking forward to seeing how this Talon matchup goes up against the LeBlanc, but it's going to be difficult to head towards the bot lane because that's a Zilean support locked in for Hylissang already.
Oh, baby. Hylissang says, come at me here.
And this is game 3 on Zilean from Hylissang. We actually criticized a little bit of this team composition drafting from the Unicorns last week during the show, but you can see they have a very clear focus on getting picks that they like and just dropping what people are assuming is the meta, and it's worked well for them. Remember the composition into the Rengar that they allowed through.
And the Unicorns, they've made this work consistently, and in all honesty, it's always off-putting to opponents, but it works for them, and they manage to make these big plays. Now we see in the second phase of bans, the Ashes ban, there's the Renekton as expected, also the Rumble on the side of Splyce.
So at that point, you have to look at it. Unicorns not wanting to give away a strong side laner over to Splyce. Now Camille is still available. Splyce may actually have to ban it here because otherwise Unicorns would pick that, and there aren't many lanes that were still available into the Camille. So it'll be jungle here, likely, I would imagine, or Xerxe, as always, might have something different for us, and it's actually Nautilus they're going for in the top lane.
All right, so Nautilus is locked in. It's over to Splyce for their final rotation here. Varus had been left untouched, so it's a big lock-in for them. And they take the Gragas blind. Well, not blind, if the Nautilus is there.
Yes, so it's now jungler left for the Unicorns of Love. So Varus did have a little bit of a tweak on this patch, but still expected to be strong in that laning focus rather than the poke Varus that we saw all the way through the spring split. And with rounding out this Gragas for Wunder, it is a bit of a different champion from the carries we've seen in the top lane, but you saw in the beginning video of the day, he can get fights started, and we'll see whether Xerxe can do the same now.
Yep, Xerxe locks in his IVern. Of course, it's a champion he pretty much made a name for himself on here in the European LCS, but it had dropped off a time ago, still coming back.
And it now becomes his tied most played jungler now with 9 games. Don't really underestimate now how strong the Unicorns of Love Tankiness will be later on in this game. Nautilus, IVern, you've got a Zilean to bring somebody back as well. So Unicorns of Love may very well sit there with a lot of health if Splyce don't get rolling on this one. But look at what the Splyce want to do. You can bring Talon, Elise over to a lane, and suddenly you have this insane potential to snowball either the Varus or try and get that Gragas ahead.
Yeah, that's always the possibility. We will keep an eye, of course, on that top lane matchup, even if it is 2 tanks, and still going to be pretty bloody if I know these 2 top laners, Wunder and Vizicsacsi, but these 2 teams have a lot more to play for than just the 1v1, just the personal pride. There are playoff stakes on the line, and Yamato Cannon shaking hands with Sheepy walking off the stage. They're going to be sitting in the back, keeping their fingers crossed. But we want to know what you folks at home think. Who's going to take this one away? Will it be the boys from Splyce? If you think so, hop on Twitter, go to @LOL eSports, and tweet out the hashtag SPYWin. But if you believe in Unicorn Magic Stress, I think everybody knows what to do.
Yeah, hashtag UOL win for the Unicorns support. Everybody in the Love Hurts crew is probably going to be getting their phone out, furiously typing, trying to bump up that percentage in-game.
Oh yeah, we'll have to check on that one a little bit later. But for now, we are locked, we are loaded. Let's hit the Rift already. All right, here we go. Big match for both teams in Group B, trying to fight it out for the playoff positioning. This match, of course, doesn't lock anything on its own, but it means a lot in conjunction with what happens in the aftermath. And let's take a look at the starting positions here. Line of scrimmage, no trickery just yet.
Yeah, Unicorns trying to affirm their spot at the top of the table right now. They are, of course, a series win up on H2K. But every team has 2 games this week. And that makes it a very difficult prospect now to determine who's going to be at the end. So as Trevor was alluding to, you always want a 2-0, but for these teams, it's extra specially important that they 2-0 their way through the series and get as many wins without dropping any games on the board.
I think the challenge is, of course, for Splyce, because they not only have to play Unicorns here, but they also play off against H2K later in the week. And obviously, that's a big deal when you're playing the 2 teams above you. Both Unicorns, H2K, they play teams lower in the standings that have less to lose for all of this.
So now we have to track a little bit of the early game impact out of Trashy. This Elise is a pick that generally he wasn't playing a whole lot of in previous weeks. And now he's adapted to it, brought in this Elise pick as well as the Gragas that started coming back, and put emphasis a lot more on the early game. And a lot of the criticisms people had were about how Trashy wasn't really playing up to his potential, what we'd seen from him before. Now we have to see, can he actually get anything top lane against the Nautilus? Depends whether Chachi makes a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference in the jungle champion choices in this game in particular. Xerxe, tended to get a lot more involved in the later stages of the game, and that's why he likes this IVern. The Unicorns overall tended to get more involved in the later stages of the game, but Splyce, they have a window here to try and punish. Question is, can they do it?
Yeah, it's a difficult one to punish, though, as well, because without Samux and Hylissang pushing heavily, that lane is fairly safe. I mean, yes, you can bring the Talon, bring the Elise down to that bottom lane, but if the Cocoon doesn't land, likely you're not getting the kill here. And now we get to watch this Talon-LeBlanc matchup playoff in this mid lane at the same time. This is one that I'm sure Verius is watching with bated breath, looking for those trades in lane, double ignite lane as well.
Oh, yeah. All the nerfs that hit LeBlanc still managed to find a way. Exileh was one of the ones that did it. We saw it earlier today in the LCK as well. And in all honesty, let's see if there can be the difference maker here. Trashy coming around the side. Sneaky spider.
But look at what Exileh's playing in the lane. He's playing off to the side, has flash, has that distortion available. So likely not a kill here, but isn't even forced to flash. Good hold from Exileh. He knows as long as he's playing on the side of the map that Xerxe is, there's theoretically no threat that can be significant enough for him to die.
Yeah, and Xerxe was there also able to at least show face and show, hey, this lane is protected, come back another time. Even game start, no first bloods, obviously, in the first couple of minutes.
So Xerxe now doing the rounds after setting those camps up for himself earlier on. Gonna pick them up, head towards the top side. Again, it's Nautilus, it's Gragas. It's not really gonna be a kill without one player messing up catastrophically, but Xerxe, he's gonna be here just in case he needs to counter gank. This isn't likely to result in a kill. They're likely not even gonna go aggressive. It's just in case Trashy shows up.
Well, Xerxe is waiting in the advanced brush, but Wunder has played back, and we don't expect to see a whole lot of here, as you said. check in with what's going on in the rest of the lanes too, as Trashy is a little bit more preoccupied by his Wolf camp at the moment. See if he makes a return into the mid lane right now. Exileh still rocking both those summoners, and that does seem to be the game plan. Trashy's trying to get this Talon ahead.
And this is the difficulty, though, at the same time, is Talon is going to get pushed in early on. So despite picking the Talon into the LeBlanc, you do have to weather the storm early game, and then you will have the ability to roam a little later. Sencux has chunked all the way through his Corrupting Potion stacks already, and you can see Exileh still has a potion for himself. Mikyx will take the trade in the bottom lane. They know that over time, with the Voidlings, with a lot of the damage that's coming from Kobbe, they will win that trade if they catch a lot of it onto Hylissang. But it is back and forth.
Oh yeah, I mean, it could be a little bit of a slower start here. Splyce the ones that want to try to get the snowball off, but they still need a little time before they can start to try to make those side lane plays. Now, if they get caught, that could be a whole bunch of trouble, though, as Sencux is forced to flash away, hops over the wall as Exileh comes in on Distort, right into the waiting arms of Trashy, who repels up and out. Sencux on the return, tries to find some damage, but Xerxe is there to body block.
Exileh misreading where the flash went from Sencux. I think he was expecting him to have flashed further towards this the control ward that was there. Didn't manage to follow through properly. Exileh would have loved to have get a kill from that, but ultimately ends up getting nothing, uses his flash. I think by the time Sencux has flashed, that was enough for the Unicorns to just peace out and be like, okay, we got the win here.
Absolutely, and it is good to be able to try and avoid ganks from the Elise, but Trashy in general, going back to what you said a little earlier on, Stress, it has been a huge improvement from him in the early game performance and a shift in priority, in all honesty, over the last several weeks. Yeah,
it truly has, and you look at the way he's changed, more kills and assists at 15 minutes. That's the first column. The result at the bottom is the last 4 weeks of play. You can see improves in that metric, improves in the amount of deaths per game as well, dropped his number of deaths, and everything just kind of looked a lot better for Trashy. It facilitated Wunder, the rest of Splyce seemed a lot more stable, and if that's the Trashy that we're getting, maybe this is the first couple of steps on the way to that summer split form that we saw at a Splyce last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to forget, considering the way things started, a little rocky-like, that this was a team that made it all the way to the Summer Split Finals in Krakow and made an appearance at Worlds.
I mean, it would be rocky-like if they were beaten at the beginning of the split, and then they montaged their way back, and they got Gragas in the jungle, and then they came back and won Worlds at the end. That's Hollywood. I don't think it's quite going to happen for Splyce on this one, but there is the chance of being in the top of the group heading into playoffs. It's a very slim chance for Splyce, but we'll see if they montaged enough.
Yeah, it might be very well be off the back of Trashy's effort, still keeping track of him throughout this game, but it's going to be harder to gank that mid lane. There is a lot of vision, though, invested for the Splyce team around the Dragon side. It's a mountain to start things off, so they can be happy with that if they're able to get a quick pickup, and Sencux is still being punished a little bit, pushed back in lane, not too far down on the farm, but Mikyx is gone for a roam.
He's not 6, so even if he gets into the lane, like, this isn't a flash nether grasp. They're baiting out the trade.
Oh, but Sencux, he might burn down the first blood, and Mikyx can do nothing but watch.
Sencux taking an awkward trade, thought that Mikyx was coming in. I don't know whether Sencux thought Mikyx had his level 6 yet, but Splyce of an odd timing in this mid lane, not on the same page, and Unicorns pick up first blood.
Yes, they do, and it goes on to Exileh, unassisted in that mid lane, and now Hylissang is conned for a counter roam as well, throws the bombs down on top of Mikyx, or close enough too, keeps him from really going too far back, and now you can see the vision game has shifted. Unicorns have secured a lot of control in this river.
They absolutely have now. It's their prerogative to move through that river, set up even more. You can see Mikyx on his way back down to the bot lane. Hylissang's beats him there from the quicker path, but
ooh, that chain split the upright for sure. Hylissang's counting his lucky stars there.
Yeah, didn't quite catch him. Was looking for that kill, because Hylissang, again, supports aren't 6 yet. 80 carries have been in lane for a while on their own, and the supports need those all-important ultimate abilities, the Nether Grasp, that Hylissang's going to need the Chrono Shift as well.
It's part of a byproduct of just roaming a little bit, which is something that has been in meta, but it's something that Hylissang has actually done quite a fair bit.
Yeah, Hylissang, typically one of the supports that roams away from his lane more than any other. When you look at his proximity to Samux, it's 9. It's one of the lowest in the league, so you can see that Hylissang likes to go wandering, but sometimes it doesn't all go well for him. That second column, total isolated deaths at 15. 6, he's rank 1.
Yeah, that's in the first 15 minutes of games.
Yes.
He has 6 deaths by himself. And now, you know, he gets plays done, he makes things happen, but when you're dying all the time and trying to maybe just get a little bit of deep jungle vision, that's not always going to work out for you.
And importantly, the contrast here is Mikyx has 0. So you can really kind of put that in perspective.
Oh boy, Sencux is stopped, nowhere to go, but he was able to make his escape, but he is getting pushed back by Exileh.
Yeah, big pushback from Exileh in that mid lane. It's a difficult one, really, to actually contend with, because Sencux needs to get out of the lane to have an impact on this game. He's not going to be able to snowball through his own lane. The time has gone for that. You've got Exileh on LeBlanc, already with a kill to his name, up in CS. Sencux has been forced to buy Hexdrinker first, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's rough for Sencux. He's going to want to get a roam down and try to make things happen across the map, but when Splyce, the team that were trying to make things happen in the early game, and when you've already given the kill over to the LeBlanc, well, you could be in a little bit of trouble here. So working his way up on the items, and Sencux is forced to be very defensive in result.
At this point, we've got to look at the game. Coming into it, saying, look, Trashy's had more impact in the early game. Everything has looked better for Splyce in the early game, and right now, Unicorns are getting everything they want from this. They're getting time for the Nautilus, for the IVern, for the Caitlyn. The LeBlanc's in a fine spot. We're only at 10 minutes, already a kill on the board. Caitlyn is doing well, repelling a lot of this push from the Varus, so Splyce aren't challenging yet. We need the first couple of fights for Wunder to come in, make a big impact in the team fight with the cask, see if they can get some kills on the board. But you can see Unicorns of Love want to try and focus off this top half of the map as well. They don't want Splyce getting every buff, getting all of their jungle camps. They want to try and punish.
Yeah, playing to the Unicorn strength as well, where a lot of the power lies between Vizicsacsi, Xerxe, and Exileh. For them, that has been a cornerstone for their victories, and they've had a lot of them over the last few weeks, so you have to look back a ways before you see the last time that Unicorns actually dropped a game, or dropped a match, I should say. It was week 6 against Misfits.
Yeah, and that was somewhat the beginning of Misfits, the questioning of, are they actually top, are they not? Because after that, Misfits kind of ended up on an awkward downturn on their place. Here comes the dive we were talking about. We're post level 6 for Mikyx now. Maybe they were looking for bot lane, but they've spotted Unicorns members coming across. Sencux roaming too.
There's Xerxe right now. They've locked him up. Mikyx has the Nether Grasp on, and he gets a chrono shift to keep him alive as the Voidlings come up and try to take out Hylissang. That'll be the end of that.
So they get the Zilean ultimate, which is kind of a win. Splyce didn't use any flashes and only one ultimate in response.
Speaking of flash,
a second ultimate.
All right.
Out. Now Sencux might be in trouble here.
He jumps on Hylissang though. No ultimate there. He burns his Ignite. The bomb's coming in, and there's the chains. He has to flash to get away from it. But Sencux is able to pick up a kill of his own. And meanwhile, down bottom, Kobbe, Mikyx, Trashy all pushing here. But Samux and Xerxe have arrived.
And here's the danger of Hylissang being out of the lane now. There's 3 members of Splyce. Hylissang is dead, and Unicorns now have to deal with a push on the bot side. Sencux is going to carefully come back towards the mid lane. Daisy's being used.
Yep. Daisy going to try to stop the push here, so Splyce have to contend with a big cupcake pushing them off the tower. So their push is foiled. It did definitely work out, but still a close gold game right now. Unicorns not as safe and secure as it looked.
A lot of the damage had already been done to the tower as well on the pushes beforehand. So Sencux trying to get away. I think that wall might be on cooldown from when he was going over earlier. Of course, Sencux does have a long cooldown on that earlier. So rather than try and escape, he's like, I'm getting the kill. Ignite, I'm going to flash, I'm going to get some autos. Get that kill. Sencux finally gets on the board for himself. Still heavily down in CS though. That time that Exileh has had in lane where Sencux hasn't been there has really punished him.
Yeah, we're going to need to see more out of him. But let's check in with the rest of the team as well, because Kobbe's been holding pretty firm in the bottom side when they tried to push off just to get that tower, was unfortunately unable to do it. But as his Blade of the Rune King completed right now. Let's see what he can get done with the rest of the team. They are focusing towards this bottom side. Dragon hasn't really been a big issue just yet.
No, not yet. It's a Mountain Drake, but inevitably will become a point of contention once teams actually open the map up a little bit. Talking about that Blade of the Rune King, we started to see this a lot more on Varus, more focused towards actually the auto attack.
Yeah, same on Ashe too, to be honest. It has been a lot more popular in here on 7.6. more changes.
Yeah, of course, a lot of changes around the blight stacks, how they interact with the cooldown, but that's not important. Exile's getting ganked.
Well, we wanted some action, and in the mid lane, that's
Flash?
the case. Exile's going to have to walk out of it. No, he can't, because the Nether Grasp is there, and Trashy sinks his fangs in.
Mikyx didn't want to flash if the distortion was still available for Exileh, so he was guessing a second about whether he had it up. And Splyce, now it's going to be the attention looking towards that bot tower once again. You can see how they're positioning. Despite not having the Malzahar ultimate, Samux has to concede his positioning in the bottom lane because Splyce have already got this tower so low. One cocoon would kill Samux and get the tower.
Yep, nice play by Mikyx, setting that kill up earlier on and now getting all the vision inside of the Unicorn's jungle, allowing Splyce to knock down tower number 1, get themselves up in the gold game. 14 minutes on the clock now. Xerxe has found Wunder, who blast cones over.
Yeah, a little too big to get on the blast cone for a second there.
Yeah, got to slim down. You need to be able to get out of harm's way a little easier, but Splyce taking the opportunity, seeing a couple of Unicorns members topside to take out this Mountain Drake.
And that was what we inevitably were expecting from Splyce, was the turnaround on this game. Mainly because they had an Elise, they have a Talon, they have a Malzahar. Of course they're going to at some point start working together, and this was where it all came together. You can see Exileh went aggressive, tried to punish Sencux. A little perhaps disrespectful on the fact that he didn't have vision on where jungle was. They didn't have wards around the bot side. But nevertheless, Splyce were in position to capitalize on that trade.
And Chachi, he might get traded on himself here. Redemption's going to come in a little bit late. Meanwhile, down in the bot, Samux is finding Sencux and wishes he didn't.
No flash
Not got
on
flash.
Samux.
He's not getting away from this one anytime soon. Sencux will just chase him down.
Yeah, Sencux. I don't think Samux was expecting being in the bottom lane. Like, Sencux didn't even use his ultimate to get that kill. So would love to see the setup from that fight again. It kind of looks like Sencux just walked into the lane and killed Samux. And Unicorns couldn't contend with that.
Yeah, that's the roam. That's the power that this Talon can give to you. And, you know, going back a little bit to trying to get that early game snowball going, Splyce, they're not just relying on their jungler. They've improved overall in recent weeks, and it's not too hard to see how they're able to do in terms of towers, in terms of dragons, everything.
Yeah, really stepped up that early game again. Those kills that we saw reflected for Trashy earlier. Also the tower difference, like the amount of towers they take compared to their opponents shot up from 5th in the ranking to 2nd, but now there's a fight over a tower. Splyce looking for it.
And they found Hylissang. The chains were there, the Nether Grasp as well, and now Splyce looking to finish this tower, and it's going to have to be flashed away by Kobbe. They get it on the fadeaway shot. Sencux a little low, but he's not going to be dead just yet. In goes the barrel. Now Chachi, they knock him all over the place, as well as Exileh. Mikyx is not going down yet. Splyce incredibly low, but they still want to fight this one. At least Wunder does. He goes in, big belly bop, throws down another barrel. Exileh is foiled. They cannot get involved. It is 2 kills for 1 so far on the board. Make that one more intercepted. Sencux will live, and Wunder bops down Exileh.
Wunder manages to take out Exileh, but on the fadeaway, Mikyx died for it. Some really key teamfight plays out of Splyce on this one. Normally it's the Unicorns of Love that are outplaying their opponents in teamfights. Well, Splyce actually had the Unicorns number, and one of the things you need to keep a lookout for is the exhaust that comes down onto Exileh. Hylissang dies with his ultimate available to start this fight. Flash brings Chachi to a minion. Watch Exileh go in and get exhausted immediately in this fight. Instantly gets taken down. A little damage comes out first, but after that, Mikyx survives, and that eventually is enough to keep him alive. Wunder has a Sheen and bought it first for trading potential in the lane, but what it means is if he lands that body slam, the follow-up auto attack is really going to hurt, and he utilizes it time and time again in this fight. Catches Exileh, makes him pay for it, does get a kill in exchange, but it still goes the way of Splyce overall.
I mean, that was some sick health bar management. Were able to do exactly what they needed to not die in mass. Yes, Mikyx goes down on the back half of it, but when your entire team is low and you've managed to pick up 3 kills for your trouble, that is a well-executed fight in a hectic situation.
Exileh still had the highest damage despite the exhaust. I think actually the first distortion made it before the exhaust, and then everything after that got exhausted out. So gonna have to look at that one frame by frame.
Yeah, that definitely could require a pretty dense breakdown for sure. 18 minutes on the clock though. Splyce in the driver's seat right now with a 3,000 gold advantage, and Unicorns, they're going to be relying more and more on this LeBlanc for a little while. With the Proto Belt completed, to close the gaps a little more effectively at the very least.
I wonder whether we're going to see the Lich Bane come out next. Exileh's been doing that. Been picking that up for himself, just you know, weave an auto attack in there once in a while.
Yeah, why not, right?
Do a lot of damage.
Doesn't have to worry about exhaust slowing his attack speed anymore. Just the movement. Just in the damage. And let's see what Splyce do here. They are going to be interested in the top side of the map pretty soon. You see him heading up towards that one, trying to knock down the last outer tower of the Unicorns.
But this is a good position for Splyce to be in. They got the explosive cask available. They know they've got a lot of potency in these skirmishes early on. Exileh goes in.
Exileh's got a lot of potency too, but he's not able to finish off a kill just yet. Xerxe stopped up by Mikyx, but it's under tower. Sencux dare to go in. It looks like he does. Shadow Assault will not finish the job just yet. And Wunder is caught and taken out, courtesy of Trashy and the rest of the Unicorns.
But this time, there's no exhaust for Exileh. There's no way of mitigating the damage, and Unicorns turn it back around. Trashy, okay, it was the second half of the fight. TP, but he comes in when he was needed, cleans it up, and now they can push on towards this turret here. Trashy, tanky enough that I imagine they will pop Titan's Wrath for a shot maybe, and then walk in and just take it with this Caitlyn.
Yep, so Unicorns managed to hold up top tower, but it is bleeding out. However, they get themselves some much-needed respite by taking down a tower of their own as we get closer and closer to that 20-minute mark.
Closer to it, we're not quite there. No Baron available yet.
No, but that, you think this game is explosive already, Stress? That's going to get even crazier. Neither team's pulling any punches, and you can see how it all began here. Yeah,
this is how the fight started, and you can see there wasn't really a target available for Sencux when he gets into the fight. Kobbe already chunked low. He wants to just kite back. Mikyx catches Xerxe with the ult, which isn't perfect at that point. Like, that's not really the target you want to keep because he's so tanky, he takes a while to kill. And there's a Zilean ult next to him. I think he might have been aiming for Hylissang and just didn't quite land it. We'll see if they can connect onto Hylissang in subsequent fights. It's one of those picks, Malzahar into Zilean or the other way around, that it's like Tahm Kench, right? Tahm Kench is good at denying everybody else being killed, but you become public enemy #1 in a team. Like, that's kind of what happens with Zilean, is if he doesn't ult himself and you get crowd controlled, you die first. Everybody turns their attention to the Zilean because you don't want to kill a carry that's got a Zilean ult on him. Take him out before it's even
And it's a little easier to kill a Zilean than it is something like a Tahm Kench as well.
Can't kill you in the Zilean, okay?
Well, in this game, they got it twice, Tress.
Don't forget it.
Just saying. Splyce, they are bucking the trend here. It looks like Unicorns are going to take another tower. Enough of that.
Yeah.
It's 2-2 right now. They're starting to close that gold gap up. Up in the top lane, though. Can see that Sencux is looking to try and finish it off, so he does. This opens the map up pretty completely for Splyce around this side. Baron has hit the rift.
Trashy wants to play the map game. Second item, Banner of Command, Nautilus.
Oh, and he's popped it already. There we go.
He's already getting, he's just pushing.
Wunder can't stop this.
Wunder can't do anything against this. Like, suddenly, Gragas is just going to be able to not clear these waves at all.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun trade back and forth there. Daisy's still on the map right now, pushing Splyce back from the Unicorn jungle.
And after a third item, which will eventually be an armor item, Sencux likely can't stop it either.
Nope. Kobbe, he's taken low. Exileh wanted to finish it, but Mikyx is going to intercept it, and Xerxe will finally finish off the kill, but now Sencux has come back in for round 2. Wunder comes for the big flank, and they've got a hell of a lot of damage there as Trashy picks up one onto Samux. Trashy being chased out by the rest of Splyce. Do they have the deeps to kill the Nautilus? I don't know. It looks like they might just do it. The rest of Unicorns, no, he flashes. He's got a shield on. He's going to live, Stress. He's going to live. He comes back in, and Exileh gets the kill.
Trashy is clearly a friend of the forest as well because all of the shields survive and they kill Mikyx on the back. They're going to kill Trashy.
What a big kill, and Xerxe gets the shutdown gold. All of a sudden, it's Kobbe and Wunder alone for the side of Splyce as Kobbe had come back up. What the hell was that fight?
Oh, that fight was Unicorns of Love settling everything on Vizicsacsi. Every shield, every heal, everything going his way. Okay, maybe he's a little less tanky than normal because of that Banner of Command, but it's going to win the side lane for them, and they had to keep him alive in the fight just to repay him.
I mean, that worked. And importantly, they kept his Darksteel stacks.
Are they? they're gonna push. Okay, they're setting up the IVern push.
Oh boy, he's got ult on. They're gonna turn. They've got Wunder right now. Pull him in on the anchor. Exileh tags his way in. It's the UOL gang squad now. It's Wunder's turn. Can he live through all this? Sorry, no shields for you. As Samux takes him out.
This is the mad scientist Unicorns of Love at work. Put the bush there. Play it with Caitlyn. You get headshots even faster. You take down that Baron. You do it quickly. Caitlyn's not even got 2 items. Doesn't even matter. You just get headshots. It's fine. You just take it down real quick. That's what Unicorns are thinking.
All right, we got to go all the way back here right now. This is a bit of go.
Yeah, good force on that flash on Kobbe. Getting that slow instantly means Exileh can pick off the kill, despite Mikyx finding him with the ultimate and the exhaust. It's enough to get the blow. Then Wunder makes just a grand entrance into the team fight, pushes the Unicorns of Love around it, and watch the shields. Trashy gets the shield, gets another shield, gets Trigger Seed. He's just autoing people to get that staggering blows, gets a beautiful 3-person depth charge off point blank. And then they end up cleaning up the rest of the fight because Trashy just survives through.
I thought he was going to accept his fate, but man, what do we say to the God of Death? Not today. It's Trashy living through it all, and Splyce, you know, pretty much just evaporate off the back of that one. And we're back into this. It's 8-8 in kills. And holy moly, do we have some action.
I'd love it if we had damage shielded in the last team fight. You just see the Unicorns all pushing the edge of the limit of the graphic. But Unicorns, we were talking earlier about how they're the ones that do the skirmish game so well. Oh, Splyce were beating them at it, and Unicorns are saying anything you can do, we can do better.
Yeah. And critically, it has been on these top laners trying to turn the tide in fights, and even though they're 2 tanks, they've been able to set up these big plays. Trashy now is leading the charges. Exileh gets stopped up, but he's able to get away from it. QSS on, and they turn for Sencux, who's able to get out as well, but people are getting pinballed right and left. Hylissang's gonna get caught. Sencux lives through the fight, but only just by a hair as Daisy's causing havoc in the inner tower, and no one's gonna go down just yet.
Yeah, not the cleanest of fights out of either team there. Sencux just getting away with his life, but Splyce are the ones that are healthier on the tail end of that fight. Whew, that was a close moment as Sencux had to flash away, jump away, parkour away, everything. You name it.
And Trashy's got Wunder, but yeah.
We're back to the trade.
I mean, I'll tell you what, Stress, we set this one up and we were expecting there to maybe be a little salt at the end of the game, but it has been spicy back and forth. And it is only game number 1, 25 minutes in. How about that?
We were talking about a briny game. Well, I guess that would make sense. That's why Trashy is role-playing it. Titan of the depths. Bring out a little bit of that deep sea fishing that Trashy's been doing with those hooks.
I think you're going pretty deep on that one.
Yeah.
It's okay. You don't have to feel the pressure.
Can you, like, send out the lifeboat and rescue me?
I'll alert the Coast Guard. But meanwhile, back on the Rift, the Unicorns are a little bit occupied by trying to clear out some vision here around the Baron Pit, but Splyce, they have not slouched on placing down those wards. It's been a pretty big vision game. It's just, you know, not so much time to talk about it when there's fights every few minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's vision game, and then there's fighting over vision, and then there's like this, where they're like, okay, I think we can take the fight. It's not about controlling areas of vision so much. There's some of that as an aspect, but you can see both teams have kind of thrown themselves against each other quite liberally in this game. Trashy, I don't know whether he's actually just trying to go top lane with Sencux here. Of course, Exileh did see Trashy walk through that ward. So, I mean, he's not really going to get caught out by that. Sends out the Mimic. I like that. Exileh sends out the fake LeBlanc through the jungle.
Yeah, looking, waiting, and baiting. And, you know, we'll see how this all unfolds as they try to clear the vision out. Just a quick announcement for everybody. At home, in studio, everything. We might be experiencing technical difficulties in a few minutes, so if something flickers, don't be alarmed. We'll be back as soon as we can.
Just a glitch. Somebody changed something.
Yep.
Deja vu.
Got to make sure there's no loose wires here. And, well, there might be a few screws loose on this game, in all honesty. Both teams have been hitting the go button. And speaking of, Unicorns are right back on top of the Baron.
There you go again.
Trashy's
Mad scientist at work. You put the Nautilus with all the shields in the pit. Caitlyn with...
Oh, there we go. They followed the trail right into Trashy and Sencux. Teleport's coming in, but there's Redemption keeping him healthy. Now Wunder's trying to turn the fight in his favor, but he's going to have to barrel the rest of the team away. Look at Exileh coming around the bottom side, looking to pick off Trashy, but he might get caught himself by the rest of Splyce. He flashes, he fails, he gets shut down by Mikyx, and now looks like Splyce has some life in him to turn this one. Chachi's in the front line. Daisy's coming to tag her way in, but Sencux is going to be able to live through it. Is he? The bomb's on. No, he is not going to die today. It's 9-8 in kills still, and Chachi's trying to make his escape, but Wunder follows through. How many shields does he have, though? He's still living up through it all. Chachi just will not die, and he's going to speed boost his way away.
Splyce with a good turnaround on that fight from Wunder showing up. Wunder is doing so much work to disrupt these fights, and now it's Splyce that are going for this. Of course, Blade of the Ruined King Varus. Xerxe is here, though. They have the Scrying Bloom. Splyce have to back away. That's a TP coming through from Xerxe as well.
Oh boy, Trashy, he stopped up for just a second. Xerxe is able to make his escape as well, and Splyce, they are foiled. Do not want to full-on commit and force the 50-50 with Xerxe still having his flash. Mikyx, ace in the hole is intercepted by Trashy here. Splyce are working to deny a lot of kills themselves, and all things considered, when it's 9-8, and there's been so many fights, you'd think the kill count could have been a hell of a lot higher.
Yeah. There's been a lot of fights based around tanks that nobody has been able to kill for the majority of them. Unicorns are going to bait it again. This time, the Rift Scuttler is there, so Splyce know there's nobody doing that Baron right now.
Yep, and while this has been pretty hectic, people have been working very hard to try and resolve whatever technical issues we had. Looks like nothing really massively problematic, so we should be good to go at this point. So if you did experience the issues, hope it wasn't too bad, hope it wasn't too long, but let's take a look back at how this Baron attempt started.
Yeah, so they catch Sencux and try and go for him, then pings out with that invisibility, gets himself out of there. Splyce finally holding on to this fight. They get the cask out of Wunder. It's Exileh from the side once again, but the repel kind of does enough work to get Trashy out of danger for a lot of this fight, and from there Splyce then have the numbers advantage once they can turn this fight around again. It's difficult though, because Xerxe has so many shields. Like, watch how long Xerxe survives for again. Like, he's running Courage of the Colossus, he's getting all of this crowd control off. There's the Zilean ult on him as well. Doesn't matter, even if he dies, he's gonna come back alive again. But Splyce then end up turning for that Baron.
Yep.
Don't end up getting it.
Xerxe also did the most damage in the last fight off the back of it, just by virtue of being right in the front. And this comes to bear with what you said in Champ Select. Unicorns of Love, they have a crazy sustain comp, and who's got the most sustain of it all? It's the Nautilus. They're throwing everything on him, and Splyce just can't crack through the armor. Yeah,
they're not able to get through it. Xerxe, so much damage. Sunfire Cape plus that Titan's Wrath,
and the Banner
shield.
Command AP.
It's just all kind of doing damage, Riptide, you name it.
Yep.
Everything going in the Unicorns' favor. It's a special. It's the Unicorns' mid lane push special.
Voidling was there to intercept any anchors that came that way. Sencux looking to take the fight to Exileh on the other side, but Xerxe is still pushing Wunder back around. Hylissang's caught up again. The shields were on, but they will not be enough. He's got to ult himself. And Exileh forced a little out of this fight, but meanwhile, back in the front, the Unicorns are on the retreat path right now. Bombs are flying left and right, dropping them like crazy as Exileh and Sencux, they're in their own fight right on the other side of it all. Xerxe could go down finally. How many shields does he have? This time it is not enough. It's going to be a 1-for-none so far, but Exileh, he's waiting, he's baiting. The chains did not connect.
They didn't, and now Splyce are on the hunt for this kill before they turn towards the Baron, but they are taking a lot of time here. Unicorns of Love soaking up time from Splyce, and they may not actually be able to go for Baron. It's only Xerxe that's dead, and Exileh with the great escape is looking for, I guess, over the back of Dragon Pit here with this blast cone. Easily out. Exileh styling a little bit on Splyce, although Splyce have started to get to a point where they can output damage against the Unicorns in prolonged fights. You saw that Kobbe getting so many auto attacks with this Hurricane, with the Blade of the Ruined King, stacking up Blight stacks, pairing that with his abilities to chunk through some of the high health here. And it makes it kind of difficult for the Unicorns of Love, because Hylissang ulting himself is the second best scenario for Splyce. If Splyce kill him before the ult goes off, that's the best thing. If Hilly has to basically waste it on himself, great, no more carries are coming back either. No more tanks, nothing like that. It's just the Zilean support. Hylissang flashes out into the redemption off it, so does end up surviving, but you can see how much damage Kobbe was doing from the rest of that fight. Now Splyce want to go for this Baron.
Ever a dull moment right now. Wunder is going to lock up Xerxe for just enough time for Trashy to get the smite down, and now they found him with another grab. Chains of Corruption are on. In comes Daisy. Sencux is causing havoc in the back, and Trashy picks up 1 kill. Looks like they're about to get a couple of more. Here's Trash. Samux, he just can't quite get away, or can he? Stops up Sencux for a minute. The bomb will not finish the job, but Wunder is going to dash and flash, and Exileh comes right back onto him, pops his QSS to stay out of the CC train. But with Splyce securing the Baron, securing Xerxe, they're able to pick up another tower.
Through all of the thoughts about how Splyce, how would they be able to output damage? I underestimated this Varus damage that can be dealt in team fights when there's no threat towards him. You can see he's going just forward all the time. And Wunder is making so much room for this Varus to just waltz into the base now. 10 seconds left on Xerxe. Splyce are looking for Nexus towers.
Yeah, they are. They've got one already stressed, and they keep themselves healthy with the redemption here. It's only 3 unicorns to try and defend, and Wunder is separating them. Here comes Exileh, gets 1 kill off before he goes down as well, or no, I was misdirected. He goes right on back in for Wunder. Let's see if they can get the kill. He turns and bops him, says, not today, you don't. And in comes Sencux. This is going to be
Samux.
A fight to the finish. He finds Samux. Hylissang limping back to his own fountain, and Xerxe can't really do much more. That's a double kill. That's going to be it. That's going to be the game. Splyce, they're going to take this first one.
Yeah, Chachi's back. He TP'd out of the base to try and cut Splyce off. It's 4 versus 2. Hylissang in danger as well.
All they need is to hit the Nexus right now, but they can do it cleanly, finishing off Chachi. Hylissang sitting on top of the fountain, and he has to watch as his Nexus gets deleted, stepping out for the ace. 34 minutes. The Splyce boys take the lead.
Started with a whimper and ended with a bang for Splyce, because that was a quick end to the game from the Baron being taken. And I've got to feel a little bit for the Unicorns of Love. Chachi and the rest of the team have done such a good job at skirmishing earlier. That last one goes completely awry because they feel like they've pushed Splyce out of the base, and Chachi's like, I can TP, I've got it, I'm in the lane behind them. They killed 2 of you, and I'm too late to save the game.
I mean, there was so much back and forth throughout that whole series. If you weren't watching the gold easily, and even if you were, you could see how it was just going back and forth time and again. I'd love to see how the gold graph in that game panned out. And Splyce, what decision-making out of these guys? Split second. I talked to Sencux a couple of weeks ago, or several weeks ago, in fact, and he said, hey, the biggest problem, we don't show it in scrims, but we show it on stage. Can't pull the trigger. Can't make the decisions in the tense moments. That game, completely not that.
Yeah, but you know who was the one pulling that trigger? It was Wunder the entire game. TPing in, body slam, flashes.
Flash barrel every time.
Tusks, everything. Like, going Sheen first, being able to, like, out-duel LeBlanc at the end of the fight.
3 Doran's rings, yeah, that was crazy.
Exactly. Just kind of gets in, catches opponents. That was impressive. And we talked about how Wunder played the carry champions. What if he carries on a tank?
Well, I guess everything is possible, and this series is definitely heating up. Now, Splyce, they have a convincing win to start it off. For more on that game 1, we're going to send it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Pyra. I think it's safe to say an amazing game in terms of mechanical displays from both sides. We saw ups and downs from both teams in terms of decision-making, but the team fights were excellent to watch.
Exactly, and I mean, it's a Unicorns of Love game. We know we're going to get a lot of these team fights, especially because their composition, it would be difficult for them to maybe deal with the split push. You know, Gragas would take over one side lane. If Talon gets ahead, he could take over the other one. Luckily for Unicorns, Talon never really got that far ahead, but still Unicorns, they got to set up fights after falling behind, though. And I think the falling behind part early showed some of the problems for these guys, but also, I think, good execution from Splyce.
Yeah, I think this was one where we had just a giant question mark on. Now, keep in mind, the Bush's control ward to Hylissang can't see the Talon.
Right.
I mean, you can assume that there is the potential for Talon to turn around and just keeps going from there.
Exactly. So because Hylissang died up here, Splyce have been controlling the bottom side. It allows Mikyx then to start really roaming a bit more aggressively. So he gets this kill in the mid lane, which then further snowballs into the bot lane. Tower goes down. And this is just like this snowball effect, where it all starts with 1 or 2 mistakes. The roam from Hylissang in itself was not terrible, but him then on 50% HP disrespecting a Talon with ulti and summoners cost them quite a lot, because it's this effect that turns into multiple objectives and kills for Splyce, and this now gave them a fairly large gold advantage in the early game. And we were kind of looking at this draft being like, ooh, you know, you have Malzahar first pick. A lot of teams in Europe will punish them by picking Ashe, who's a very good lane against Malzahar, very long range, you can proc the passive multiple times, try and draft a stronger lane there. But Unicorns of Love, they wanted this Caitlyn real badly, because Unicorns of Love, the philosophy they have, and this is something Sheepy talks a lot about, is they want champions that can combo things together. So you have often things like, let's say, IVern, even like LeBlanc chains, combo that into like a trap. Can also be double bombs from Zilean that gets followed up after you've already landed. Very easy CC. Get the chains, the IVern Q, double bomb, another stun. And you can layer this CC multiple times. Sets up your carries really well to win fights. But I think here maybe they value the combo slightly too much in going Caitlyn over Ashe. And then with the Zilean as well, because they struggled in this bot lane.
They definitely did, and the struggles didn't really stop there. As we kind of pull up our next replay and look at some of these fights that happened in the mid-game, it was very back and forth here, and I think Unicorns Love maybe a little overconfident in their team fighting capabilities.
Well, here they're trying to punish Splyce while the tower's still alive, but then Splyce have a ton of CC on their side, and they actually managed to get tower down, and Trashy doesn't get the right flank, and it's a 4v5 situation here because Hylissang is already dead. So this is where Splyce shows a ton of progression. Like a few weeks ago, they would not, in the end up taking this fight before tower even died. I think they would probably have misplayed the fight as well, but here they show super clean target selection, and notice how they're backing in and out. Only one member ends up dying on the side of Splyce because every single time they jump in to get a bit of damage, they know exactly when to step out. And yes, they end up trading 1-for-1 in the end, but they've already gotten another kill. They've already gotten tower. And this is just a completely different team from the one we saw 5 weeks ago. So this is replay, which is like full credit to Splyce for using that early advantage and then taking a fight like this where they execute mechanically.
Well, and I love it too because so often we see Unicorns of Love relying on those mid-game fights where they maybe don't always have the advantage, but they know as a team they can outclass their opponent in terms of team fighting. And Splyce feels like one of the first teams to really 100% challenge them on that front in terms of target.
And G2.
And G2 as well. And so now we have a lot of teams that are great at this team fighting aspect, and it means that Unicorns of Love probably going to be forced to grow. However, they still had some excellent team fights this game. And as we bring up our third replay, the immaculate use, keep your eyes on Xerxe as we move later. It starts off very good for Unicorns. Splyce start to turn it back, but just the team communication from individuals in this fight, I think, was beautiful.
And here we saw some of that combo potential. Chains from Exileh into bombs from Zilean, really good setup early on, but then obviously they lose 2 members very quickly, the bottom lane dying. And this chase then turns into Vizicsacsi getting a massive knock up because everyone from Splyce is thinking we are 1 man ahead, we can just keep chasing. Look at the Nautilus IVern here.
This is so crazy. Okay, now Wunder goes up. He thinks he's going to get the Nautilus. No, look, Nautilus is gone. All right, Wunder, where are you going to go? Hey, look, it's the Nautilus again. Yeah, well, he's doing it. The Collar. He goes back. I mean, it's just, that is beautiful. That is fantastic mechanical play, and it's just a great turnaround from Unicorns.
And I think a lot of people, when they watch a fight like this, might be like, wait, hang on, why is Nautilus doing this? Like, why is he flying back and forth? And obviously, that is the way IVern Q works. When you connect it, if you then click on that target, you will go into your melee range. So that means, obviously, Nautilus is a melee champion. He will go right next to them. That was something we saw again with this combo potential in the comp, is that Nautilus could go to these targets that got queued by IVern and just instantly proc them in the head with his passive and lock them down very quickly with CC.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, despite great fights coming in from both sides, it was Splyce who were more decisive in the end, who were making better calls. When we look at this fight that happened right after Baron, Splyce, no hesitation to pull the trigger. Oh, yeah. You heard Stress talk about it. We've heard it from the team. This was not a Splyce that was hesitating. They were going in as a unit. They were backing out as a team, and it was just so great to watch.
They played team fights extremely well. It's something we saw from them last split. It's something we wanted to see this split, and you said it before here. The fact that now G2 have shown they can match Unicorns in fights, Splyce is showing in this game they can match them in fights as well, means that Unicorns of Love going into playoffs will have some things they need to kind of try and figure out. Do they want to try and beat them that way still? Do they want to just get even better in fights? Because it's working against Misfits. It's working against H2K. But now they're facing 2 teams, or have faced 2 teams who can actually match them right here. So I want to see it in this second game. If Unicorns maybe want to bring a split pushing comp or something, more of a split pushing comp, or if they want to say, no, let's just hammer down on these fights. We can beat them there.
Well, we'll see how that develops. When we come back, the struggle for playoff positioning continues with Game 2 between Splyce and the Unicorns of Love. Stick around.
Unicorn. Hello. Hello. Hello.
He gets into the lane like this isn't a flash nether grasp. They're baiting out the trade.
Oh, but Sencux, he might burn down the first blood, and Mikyx can do nothing but watch.
What? I can boom. I can boom. Also smoking. Just on that. Nice.
Sencux dare to go in. It looks like he does. Shadow Assault will not finish the job just yet. And Wunder is caught and taken out, courtesy of Trashy and the rest of the Unicorn. Oh, he flashes. He's got a shield on. He's gonna live, Stress. He's gonna live. He comes back in, and Exileh gets the kill. And Exileh coming around the bottom side, looking to pick off Trashy, but he might get caught himself by the rest of Splyce. He flashes. He fails. He gets shut down by Mikyx. All they need is to hit the Nexus right now, but they can do it cleanly, finishing off Trashy. Hylissang sitting on top of the fountain, and he has to watch as his Nexus gets deleted, stepping out for the ace. 34 minutes, the Splyce boys take the lead.